Welcome to the Explainer. So, if you're an internationally trained dentist and you're looking to practice here in the United States, you already know the path ahead is, well, incredibly complex. It's like a giant puzzle. Today, we're going to absolutely demystify this journey for you. We're taking what usually feels like a chaotic, multi-year process and turning it into a clear, strategic blueprint. Okay, let's dive right into this. $144,438, that is the average tuition for an advanced standing dental program in the US. And here's the real kicker. That number doesn't even include living expenses. Think about cities like New York, San Francisco, or Boston. Living there can easily add tens of thousands of dollars more to your bill. The stakes here are absolutely massive. Which brings us to the ultimate question we're tackling today. How do you actually navigate this maze of US dental licensure without just totally wasting your time and your money? Look, as an international dentist, you are essentially the hero of this story, and you're facing a series of pretty daunting trials. Just one single misstep, like applying to the wrong school or taking the wrong exam, can literally cost you years of your life and thousands of dollars in non-refundable fees. But don't worry, we've got a structured, linear guide to get you through the chaos. First, we'll map out the U.S. dental licensure path. Then, we'll tackle your first steps, specifically evaluation and exams. Third, we'll be navigating the CAAPID maze. Fourth, we'll build some strategic filters for your list. Fifth, we'll look at navigating state-specific rules. And finally, we're going to wrap up with a very serious rolling admissions warning. All right, Section 1, the U.S. dental licensure path. We are mapping out the multi-year journey. Now, setting your expectations early on is absolutely critical. This isn't some quick sprint. It's a marathon that typically takes 4 to 6 years from start to finish. And this brilliantly illustrates the exact chronological progression every foreign-trained dentist really needs to internalize. First off, you start with your credential evaluation in months 1 through 4. Next, months 5 through 10, you tackle the INBDE exam. Then comes the grueling 1 to 2 year CAAPID application cycle. After that, you're actually sitting in an advanced standing program for another 2 to 4 years. And finally, only after graduation do you face your state board exams and get that final licensure. You definitely want to memorize this flow. Moving on to Section 2, first steps, evaluation and exams. Let's talk about getting past those initial gatekeepers. Okay, before you even think about looking at applications, you've got to pass the INBD exam. And a quick heads up, this exam has a notoriously longer study timeline for international grads. But here's the catch. To even sit for that exam, you have to get your foreign degree evaluated first. You're usually choosing between ECE and WES evaluations. Listen, choosing the wrong evaluator is an early critical pitfall. While some schools might accept either one, major powerhouse programs like Penn, NYU, and Temple explicitly only accept the ECE evaluation. If you go out and get a WES evaluation, you're automatically locking yourself out of these top programs. No way around it. So the absolute crucial takeaways here is stick with ECE to keep all your options open. Section 3, navigating the CAAPID maze, sorting through over 30 university programs. CAAPID stands for the Centralized Application for Advanced Placement for International Dentists. It's the main portal you'll be using to apply, and for the upcoming cycle, it runs from March 5th, 2026, all the way to January 29th, 2027. Now, what's really interesting about this is how vastly different the rulebooks are for these top programs. Just look at UCSF. It's a 3-year program, they've got a tiny class of only 20 seats, they require a bench test, and they start in August or September. Compare that to Rutgers. Rutgers is 27 months, about 35 seats, absolutely no bench test, and they start in February. Or UMN Pass, which is 29 months, only 18 seats, does require a bench test, and kicks off in January. Basically, every single program operates by its own totally unique set of rules. Section 4, strategic filters for your list. How to personalize your application path. Here's the truth. There is no single best program out there. There's only the best program for your specific profile. So we're shifting from generic advice straight to the insider playbook on how to intelligently target these schools. To prevent wasting a ton of money on application fees, you have to filter your list using these exact criteria. Visa status? Are you actually eligible to apply? Timeline? Do you need an early January start to get licensed faster? Or is a fall start perfectly fine? Bench test readiness. Are your clinical hand skills sharp enough for a practical exam right now? Cost versus location. Keep in mind, cheaper tuition in New York might actually cost you more overall than higher tuition in the Midwest, just because of living expenses. And finally, interview format.
Do you shine in a traditional interview, or can you handle asynchronous video platforms like Kira or clinical OSCEs? Let's look a little closer at what might be the single most critical filter, visa status. On one side, we have programs fully open to F1 visas. We're talking NYU, Boston University, Tufts, UCSF, and UCLA. But on the other side, we have programs with heavily restricted visa policies. Places like Penn Dental Medicine and Columbia have really strict preferences or outright requirements for U.S. citizens and permanent residents. Let me be clear. Applying to Penn on an F1 visa is an automatic, disqualifying error. It literally just burns your time and your hard-earned application money.
And speaking of money, check this out. $2,500. That is the non-refundable skills assessment fee for the bench test at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, or UMKC. Yep, you heard that right. $2,500 just for the privilege of taking a test. I think this perfectly illustrates the staggering financial reality of the bench test filter. If your clinical skills are even a little rusty, applying to a heavy bench test school doesn't just lower your chances of acceptance, it can literally cost you thousands of dollars for a single afternoon of testing. Section 5. Navigating state-specific rules. Why getting your degree is really only half the battle. Now, this next part, it's a huge blind spot for so many applicants. Graduating from an advanced standing program does not automatically give you the right to practice dentistry everywhere in the U.S. Nope. Each state has its own dental board and its own highly specific laws. Take Texas, for instance. Texas accepts foreign-trained dentists who complete a 2-year CODA-accredited specialty program. But crucially, Texas legally rejects general residencies like GPR or AEGD as a substitute for that requirement. Think about what that means. If your absolute dream is to practice in Texas, you must know their exact rules, or you might spend years pursuing a general residency that leaves you legally unable to get a license there. How awful would that be? Let's jump over to Michigan and see how this builds into a specific, actionable progression for state licensing. First up, you graduate from an approved 2-year program. Second, you must pass the ADEX or NERB clinical examinations, and yeah, those involve real live patients and mannequins. And third, you apply for licensure through LARA, which is Michigan's regulatory department, and you have to agree to maintain 60 hours of continuing education for your future renewals. To see exactly how much your preparation really matters, let's compare these two paths straight from Michigan's official licensing guide. A highly efficient candidate, someone who nails their credential evaluations without any errors, passes the exams on time, and enters a program swiftly, completes the journey in about 4.5 years, at an estimated cost of around $143,300. But look at a less efficient candidate, someone who struggles with document translation errors, maybe fails a board exam, and just gets delayed. They spend 6 years and over $206,000. Putting in the effort for thorough preparation and avoiding basic administrative errors literally saves you over $60,000 and a year and a half of your life. That is huge. Section 6, the rolling admissions warning, the insider secret to CAAPID success. I want to leave you with what is perhaps the single most critical piece of advice derived directly from admissions experts across the board. Submitting in March is not early. It is on time. Submitting in May is late. More than half of all CAADP programs use rolling admissions. By the time a program actually reaches its official June or July deadline, its class might already be 80% full. That published deadline? It's a trap. Ignorance of this timeline costs applicants their entire application cycle every single year. The cost of not knowing the rules of this maze is simply way too high. But hey, now you have the blueprint. The portal opens in March. Will you be ready to hit submit?